Today we're going to be doing one of my favorite things on earth to do, and that's to go through a book with you. I'm going to share with you what I'm learning and reading. We're just going to go through this together. So this is a book called The Richest Man in Babylon. Now this is one of those books that I should have read a long time ago. In fact, if you would have asked me if I've read it, I thought I had. It was one of those books that should be on every person's shelf. It is an amazing story written in 1926 about how money works, how wealth works. And it's awesome. I'm going to read this to you, not the whole book. I'm going to give you the highlights and the points. And I'm going to show you how it lines up with the word. And I'm going to show you how these lessons, I've got to get them to you. I've got to get them over to you. I have had too many conversations. Guys, this is for real. I've had this conversation with amazing men and women of faith. I'm talking like royalty in the faith, healing people, having ministries and writing books and saving thousands of people and doing missions trips and doing amazing overseas work, all these different things for God, living a godly life, working really, really hard. This applies to those, the ministers I'm speaking about, but then it also just applies to the person who works their butt off every single day for their family. Man, they work hard. They work crazy hard. You put in the hours, you put in the time, yet still have nothing financial to show for it, yet still struggle financially, yet still, although in my opinion, you should be wealthy by now, you should be, yet you still got nothing to show for it. And this book, we're going to go through this together, The Richest Man in Babylon, it tells you why. It gives you the secret as to why you've worked so hard, yet have nothing to show for it. And so we're going to go through this. I'm going to break it up into a couple different videos, but this is something you want to make sure. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. You do not want to miss even one of these lessons in here, because if you apply this, it will change your life. There are lessons in here, principles in here that you are not applying. It's why you're not where you want to be. And look, I'm preaching to myself. I'm going through this. I should have gone through this a long time ago. I'm going through it now. I'm taking notes, and then I'm teaching them. One, because it helps me learn it even better and apply it. And let's go on this journey together. I don't want to leave anybody out. I'm going to be successful. I want you to be successful too. And we're going to do it in a way that honors God and gives him glory and just makes him look good. Sound fun? Well, let's hang out. Again, subscribe, hit that notification bell so that you don't miss any one of these lessons we got coming up. So, first point in The Richest Man in Babylon. Basically, it's talking about the ancient city of Babylon. And there's a man in the city. His name is, I don't know if I'm saying it right, but his name is Bansir. And Bansir is a chariot maker. All right, so he's got his workshop that's built right off of his house, and he can see the castle and the wealth and all the opulence in the background from where he lives and works. And Babylon's an interesting city because it is the wealthiest city on the planet, yet it also has some of the poorest people and areas on the planet as well. It's a far contrast. And what he's saying is he is the finest chariot builder in all the land. He makes the best chariots. He's the hardest worker. He puts in the extra effort, goes the second mile, and makes the most amazing chariots in all the land. And people pay him for it, yet he still has nothing to show for it. So what happens is he has a dream. And in this dream, he's got a fat wallet or a bag of gold. And he can, basically, he's given to the poor. He's buying the food he wants for his family. He's buying the clothes that he wants. He's obtaining the items and things. He's living carefree. He feels a sense of security because he's got this big financial bag that he carries with him. And then most importantly, he talks about how he is generous and he's given to others and sharing it and blessing people who need it. And I don't know if they need it, just blessing people with it, right? And listen, what happens is he is sitting on his wall of his property just looking bummed. And his friend comes up to him and said, why are you so sad? You're the happy guy. Like, I've never seen you look like this. And he tells his friend of the dream. And his friend goes, man, that's a great dream. Why are you so upset? And he was like, because I woke up and it wasn't real. I woke up and my bag is empty. I woke up and I can barely feed my family. I barely clothed them. We're just existing. So that dream discouraged him. He woke up bummed out. And so him and his buddy are talking, and his buddy actually asks him before that, can I borrow 2 shekels and I'll pay you back at the end of the night? And he was like, I don't have 2 shekels. I'd give it to you. I don't have it. That'd literally be every penny I had if I had that. I don't have it. And he felt bummed. His friend who came up to him is one of the best lyre players, like a guitar kind of thing, I think. One of the best guitar players in all the city, even playing for the kings and royalty and stuff like that. Yet he too has never amassed anything other than just living paycheck to paycheck. So in modern day terms, that's what's happening. Here's 2 super hard workers who are very skilled in what they do, good at what they do. They're not lazy. They're generous people. They're loving people, kind people, nice people, sweet people. Yet, can't get past paycheck to paycheck living. So they're talking about it. Bansir has the dream. He's getting pretty upset about it. And they remembered something. They had a friend. His friend's name was Arkad. They grew up with Arkad. Arkad is now the wealthiest man in the city. In fact, he's so wealthy that even the king comes to him for financial advice. All right? So Arkad, this is interesting. He was known for his great wealth, but he was also known for his great generosity. And there's a couple interesting lines in here. Let me back up one second. They think about Arkad, and they think about the wealth that he has obtained in life. But what was interesting was they were friends when they were kids, playing in the schoolyard. And Arkad, he was like, man, he wasn't smarter than us. He didn't excel at grades. He didn't excel at sports. He wasn't better at us in anything. He wasn't a genius. He wasn't super smart. He was just one of us. He doesn't work harder than us. He's not a better citizen than us. He's not more godly than us. He's literally just one of us. How did we grew up together, how did he take this path that ended in wealth, and we took this path that ended in just being tired, worn out, and living paycheck to paycheck, just existing, just so we can do it all again tomorrow? How did he do it? And the friends started talking, and they had a realization. Let me turn to the page here. He said something interesting. It said, he realized that the 2 friends realized, wait, you could just ask people for advice. They said, does Arkad, has he ever taught somebody how to become wealthy? And he said, well, they say he taught his son. His son moved to the city of Nineveh, and they said without his father's help, he's now the richest man in that city. So if it could be taught to his son, it could be taught to us, but we've never asked it. And the friend who came up to him, he said this too. He said, wait a minute. You and I, whatever we decided to put our efforts into, we've always succeeded. You decided to learn how to be the city's best chariot builder, and you did that. I decided to be the city's best guitar player, and I did that. Everything we've decided to put effort into and pursue, we've accomplished. Think about that for yourself. Anything you've ever decided to do, you've done it. For some of you, that might just be whatever day job you're at. You decided you were going to learn that thing. You might sell cars. You decided, I'm going to learn how to sell cars and sell them well, sell houses. Maybe you're a realtor. You're working at an office. You decide, I'm going to be the best administrator there is. I'm going to figure this thing out, and I'm going to crush it. And you did. I'm going to learn how to sell cell phones. Whatever it is. You've done it. You've learned a sport. You've learned a skill. You've learned something for your job and expertise. You learned how to play guitar one time. You learned how to type. You learned how to make advertisements. You've learned how to make coffee. You've learned how to be the best barista at Starbucks. Whatever you're doing, you did it. You succeeded at it. And then they realized, we never learned how to make wealth. We've never pursued it. We could just ask somebody, get the wisdom, get the instruction, and then pursue it just like we've done with other things. Now, this is interesting because the man also points out that a man's wealth is not just in the bag that he carries. A fat purse quickly empties if there is no golden stream to refill it. Arkad has an income that constantly keeps his purse full, no matter how liberally he spends. So it wasn't the fact that I just need to learn wealth, I need to learn how to create an income. This was written back in 1926, okay? This is timeless. This is awesome. This applies today just as much as it did back then. You need to learn how to create an income stream. That's all he's saying here. That's what Arkad has. Whether he's in the city or out traveling, his income or his income stream fills his purse or his bank account. There's another part when they're describing Arkad, the wealthy man, and says that he was liberal or generous with helping the poor, with helping others, with helping friends, with helping the city, and he was also liberal in his own expenses. Nevertheless, each year he earned more than he could spend. I wanted to point that out for a couple reasons, and I'm gonna wrap this up in a nice big bow for you. You've heard me mention this in other videos. We have a weird concept of how we see God and money, God and wealth, and in stewardship. We see God as he's up there holding a big check for millions of dollars, and if you perform well, and what we think that is, if we spend as little money as possible, clip coupons, buy all the cheap off-brand stuff, go to thrift stores for our clothes, only buy groceries, never eat out, drive beat up cars that get us from point A to B but aren't cool and we don't even like them, live in a shack or just rent a small apartment, and we live this way, hand me down clothes, hand me down everything, then God will release the funds to us because we performed well by spending as little money as possible. I mean, that's subconsciously what you're thinking. It's ridiculous, and it's not backed up in scripture anywhere. So silly. Now, when you read a book like this, we got to make sure it's backed up in scripture. Otherwise, we don't necessarily need to believe it. So what I do when I read a book like this is I try to make sure if there's a thought that I like, I go and say, like, is there a scripture that says the same thing? So then that way we know it's a truth. All right? So this man, it says, he was even liberal in his own expenses, yet nevertheless, his wealth still grew year after year. So again, that's you know how we think we have to be very tight and cheap with our expenses, and then God will see we're good stewards and trust us with more money. But that's not how it works. That's how we think it works. But then you read the scriptures and you're like, that's not how it works. That doesn't, those things aren't correlated. Oh, I know you probably think I'm crazy, but go find the scripture. Go read the parable of the talents. It's in Matthew 25. It says the exact opposite of what you think it says. The person who spent as little money as possible was the one that was called wicked and lazy. Oh, man, okay. Yeah, I've got other videos on that. I'm not going to get into it. I thought it was interesting that the wealthiest man in the city, who was also the most generous man in the city, followed the parable of the talents mindset, which is actually the person who invests and uses their money to make more money is the one who increases. The one who hides his money and hoards it and grasps onto it out of fear of losing it That's the one that's called wicked and lazy, and this money's taken from him and given him to the guy who produces. That's interesting. It's very interesting. So these two fellas, they're sick and tired of being sick and tired. They're tired of the rat race. They're tired of just eking out a meager existence and having nothing to show for it. They're tired of working 12-hour days, working their butt off, coming home exhausted to their families, only to have enough to just barely feed them and adequately clothe them. It talks about the clothing wasn't even that great. It was basically like the bare minimum you could get by with is what he was able to clothe his family with. Yet, he was a hard worker and he was skilled and good at what he did. So was the best friend. They thought about their other friend they grew up with, Arkad, who's now the wealthiest man and most generous man in the city. And they thought, wait a minute, we've never pursued the art of creating an income, the art of getting wealthy. We've never pursued this. The other things we pursued, we achieved. Let's go find our old friend Arkad and let's talk to him. Let's ask this dude what's up. Let's see if he will show us. He taught it to his son. Perhaps he'll teach us. Okay? All right, I'm gonna wrap this up. They started talking to Arkad. And he said this. They went to him and they questioned him and they said, how'd you do it? We grew up together, yet you ended up on a far better path than we did. You didn't have any skills, or there was nothing special about you, basically, yet your results are better than our results. How'd you do it? And he says this, if you have not acquired more than a bare existence in the years since we were youths, it is because you have either failed to learn the laws that govern the building of wealth, or else you just don't observe them. Like I was saying at the beginning, I've had conversations with multiple amazing men of God who have great families. They've done great stuff for God. Like I said, written books, preached, done missionary work, lots of cool stuff, had ministries. And I remember I've had a couple of them, and somewhat recently, I had one recently, where we were talking about some of this stuff, and they were just like, Trav, I just never, to be honest with you, I just never gave faith for finances much attention. And that's kind of what I feel like I teach, like in my heart. Some of my old classes were called that, Faith for Finances. And basically, they're like, I focused a lot of my faith on these areas, but I never did it towards money. And they always had this little, both of these guys I'm thinking of were a little bit older. And they were just kind of like, man, it was almost like I could have. I wish I would have. But I didn't, so I'm learning it now. And that's why we can see people who are great people, good people, salt of the earth people, hardworking people, godly people, even tithers, yet are not experiencing the financial increase that they could. It's just what Arkad said here. If you haven't learned to acquire more than paycheck to paycheck living since we were youths, it's because you've either failed to learn the laws that govern the building of wealth, or you just don't observe them. You didn't learn. And, I've thought about this in the past where I've seen some of my friends, get a job and then just stay with that job for 10 years, 8 years, 10 years, 15 years, and climb the corporate ladder, do well at the job. And, they put in all the hours. They put in the 10-hour days, 12-hour days. They travel for conferences. They're managers now. So their bosses send them around the country to learn this, go to this workshop, do this conference, do these things, do this seminar, get this extra training, get this extra certification, get this extra license, and all that stuff. And some would say they work harder than me. Some would say they traveled more than me, put in more effort than me, definitely put in more hours than me. Yet, they don't have the time freedom I have. They don't have the financial freedom that I have. They don't have the money that I have. Well, why? They work hard. They're good people. They're Christians. They love God. It's simply because I learned different things and applied them. I learned different laws, you could say, different principles, and applied them. The things I put my effort into end differently than the things they put their effort into. I have some friends and they're like, if I stick with this long enough, they've been in their companies, 4 years, 5 years, maybe 8 years. And they're like, man, if I stick with this thing, I could be making $100,000. I could be making $200,000. I got one guy who's like, I can make, man, the top guy makes $500,000 at my company. And I'm like, yeah, I guess. But truthfully, it's like, you don't want to really even be there. You're just doing it because it makes you money. You're not like passionate about it. It doesn't light you up every day. And two, you don't have any time freedom because you've got to be at that job plugged in. You don't even like it. Or you tolerate it. It's not that bad. I don't mind it. Yeah, but you're not living like Trav, like free to go to the zoo in the middle of the day on a Tuesday kind of lifestyle. So you can work your butt off and be an amazing godly Christian person and still just kind of live paycheck to paycheck, maybe a little bit extra. You can put a couple bucks into savings and you can get that loan for the boat, get your little boat payment and do a couple different things like that. But it's not living and it's not wealth and it's not freedom. But you can learn these principles. Stick with us. We're going to teach you these things. And you can learn these principles to create income streams, to create wealth so that you can have that time freedom. And once you do, man, you can give as generously as you want. You'll be paying off other people's houses. You'll be helping people like crazy. You'll be launching churches and funding missionaries and organizations and nonprofits and starting your own and preaching and teaching and all these different things that God's called you to do. What if we did all of them also with some income streams at the same time? That way you're mentally freed up to focus on this stuff. Your time is freed up to focus on this stuff. And you have wealth. And wealth can be powerful. Wealth can be used as a weapon. Wealth can get stuff done for the kingdom, for God. That's what we're here for. Anyway, as you can tell, I'm excited. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so that you get notified when the next video, the next one of these releases, because you don't want to miss it. It's going to help you. So we're going to break this up into a couple different chapters, a couple different videos, and it's going to be great. If you're new to the channel and you're new to me, what we teach is a new way of thinking about financial success. Other people are going to teach you how to budget your life away, how to decrease and cut back. I don't teach that. I teach what we call the increase method. I don't tell you to stop going to Starbucks or stop eating out. Me and my wife can eat out whenever we want. And in fact, we're in a position where we can go to these places and we can say, hey guys, I'm buying your meal. Go to Starbucks and say, hey everybody in the room, this round is on me. Get your coffee drink. I got you. That's who I want to help you become. If that's exciting to you, if you want to learn how to dominate your finances and escape the budgeted life instead of being trapped in a budgeted life, then you're going to want to click the link below and head over to the Increase Challenge. All right, it's going to be 5 videos and 5 lessons that are going to help you find hidden poverty mindsets you didn't even know were there. You've actually been self-sabotaging your financial success without realizing it. I'm going to help you find it. I'm going to show you what to do. We're going to all back it up with God's word. I've got assignments and lessons and all kinds of cool stuff. It's going to transform your financial future. And the best part is you can start seeing new results right away. Currently at this time, I've got it absolutely free. Just click the link below and head over to the Increase Challenge. It will also put you on my email list, and that way you'll be getting all kinds of increase strategies and lessons and all the cool stuff that we put out here over at the Increase Life. I love you guys. I will see you in the next one.